Indeed. And greetings upon you, beloved and holy friends. Thank you so much for joining me here again on another live stream, another moment, another opportunity for us to tell a story. You know, what story do you want to tell? Hello there, Mixed Dev. It's nice to have you here, Naomi. Ooh, looking a little stormy there. Good day, friends. It is a little bit stormy here. It rained a little bit just before the stream, and there's gonna be a lot of wind. And I started sitting up inside, and then I was like, no, no. I don't want to sit inside. That was not the part of the story I wanted to tell myself. Ooh, stormy clouds, Candace. It seems to be. Seems to be. Hopefully, we'll get some rain. It looks like it wants to pass. It kind of looks like it wants to pass. We'll see if we get rained on today. But today's whole intention, the feeling I want to bring into today, is the feeling, the intention of storytelling. You know, storytelling is something that human beings really enjoy. I feel it's something that might distinguish us most from other animals. It's just how much we love stories, how much we love telling them. So that will be our intention. Stories. To the stories we tell ourselves, friends. Today I sat here on this little porch and I was thinking to myself, you know, what intention do I want to set for today? What I want to think about, what I want to feel into. And I set the intention of the future. And I go through the processes, you know, and I think about Johan. I send him a message that, you know, just to make sure that he's actually on board for tonight's stream. Send him this message, and the last messages that me and him actually exchanged with each other was about the future. And instantly, my mind is like, oh goodness, look at this. The future intention was seen in the future and now it's being revealed to me, if you will. And then I made sure that Christian was also on board for the podcast tonight. So I gave him a call as well. And the last time me and Christian had a chat, he told me that he feels he doesn't contribute, you know, to the podcast. He feels like he's not. He feels like he's the negative one in that story, if you will. And I told him that that's never the intention. You know, he gets to change that story about himself, if you will. And then he mentioned he just feels like there is no structure in the podcasts, and it kind of makes him feel a little bit lost. So instead of being like, oh yeah, I guess that's just how it is, I'm sorry to say that, no, 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 no. I reframed the story to make him responsible for framing these classes, for setting them up, and for creating a narrative, a story, if you will, for us to follow. And I call him up to make sure that he actually, is ready for today. I ask him what the topic is that he wants us to talk about, and surprise, surprise, he wants to talk about humanity's future. Humanity's future in context of it turning out in the way that The Expanse has. It's this story being told right now, in series format of like a humanity 350 years in the future. And we've basically become interplanetary, I would say. Not really inter-star system, but we've become interplanetary at least. And just basically how humanity deals with different human beings, from different places, quite literally from different, regions as well, and then their physiology kind of changes because of that. The amount of, I want to say social unrest is intense in that type of world as well. And it was just again this reminder of how the story we tell ourselves can sometimes click into the story other people tell themselves as well. But the story we tell ourselves becomes the selves that we think we are. I had a conversation with Melita today, and out of that conversation, we were talking about ego and how it has this, I want to say, want, this likelihood, this reaction of holding on with a fury, not trying to let go, not trying to, have his perspective changed. And like that was kind of the start of that conversation. After that, I mentioned that you don't really have to think about the ego as something that has to be abolished. More so, the ego is something that has to be recognized and seen for what it is, for the role it plays, for where it's supposed to come in. And technically, we do need ego, very much so, just if we want to fit in socially, if we want to be relatable, if we want to be a part of the narrative, the continuity of the story. If you keep changing, or if your ego changes at the point where you are no longer the same person that you were the last time we met one another, then the story I tell myself about you and the story I tell myself about myself in context of you suddenly falls apart. So ego isn't something we have to destroy. But what we do have to realize is that ego is the thing, is the manifestation of the story we tell ourselves over and over again. The more we tell this story of like, oh, I'm this, I'm doing this, I only deserve these things. These are the things that I want in my life. These are the only things that I want to see in my life. Because I am this way, then it becomes that way. And I was thinking about a friend today who was talking about feeling unworthy of love, feeling unworthy of me reaching out to him over and over and over again. And the only thing that I could say to him that is, if that is the feeling you have, if that is the thing you keep telling yourself, then it will become your reality. And it's so odd because no matter how many times we try and tell someone a story that is going to be contrary to the story they've been telling themselves, if they're not willing to shift their own story, then there's nothing that you can do. Even if you shout your side of the story at the top of your lungs, if your story doesn't fit into their narrative, they just will not hear it. And it's unfortunate. The magic of stories. I love telling our girls stories that have moral values. I feel kids especially resonate with stories like that. It's so difficult to really teach moral values IRL, if you will. You can, definitely, but it can also put you in an awkward position, and you don't really want to expose your kids to that. So stories is the way that we kind of introduce our kids to these type of topics. I'm so happy that you're doing that. Four little girls, and another one, in the oven. Do you know yet? How far are you along, Candace, if you're willing to share, my friend? Stormy clouds are just massive sky, cities, and castles in the sky. The thunder, cannons from them having battles. That's what our girls believe. That's amazing. I mean, they very much are rushing each other, bouncing out, okay, bouncing up against each other, creating static electricity, and then firing the static electricity as cannons. I can kind of see it, still making sense. I want to share some love, Mariah says. My mom said she is proud of me this morning. I couldn't hold myself together. I burst into tears. I love my mom so much. I can't seem to stay on the bright side. I can't seem to stay on the bright side of things. And hearing that from her made me at least feel like I've done something right at some point. Oh, Mariah, thank you so much for sharing that story with us. That's beautiful. We're proud of you. For what it's worth, we're not your mom. Our our pride of you won't be as significant, if you will, as your mom's, but we're proud of you as well, friend. The love you share, the mom that you are to your kids. Thank you for sharing some space with us right now. I can stay on the bright side of things. Words are very powerful. Be mindful of what you put out there. I agree. I agree, and that's the intention, the feeling, the message of today's class, today's stream. It's just talking about the stories we tell ourselves and just becoming aware of that. Right now in this moment, I feel a sense of disconnection from a friend that is sending some messages as well, about the story that he must be telling himself. Let's let's read a little bit of this. Sorry, bro, makes too deaf. Geese. Go back to Europe, you fake African, with your fake spirituality. Give the land back to the Africans. Where have gone throughout the world and destroyed the land? Thank you, Tiger Ram. Tiger Ram, for your love, my friend. I appreciate your participation. Hi, Mammy. Thank you for joining us as well. So nice to have you here. Saturday to you. I will ask anyone watching the stream to be respectful. If you don't care for the comments, no, it's okay. It's okay, Mammy. It's all about the story we tell ourselves, and even in this moment, I genuinely feel sorry for the friends that have this hatred inside of themselves. I cannot imagine what it must be like to exist like that. Just think about that for a second for yourselves. Instead of trying to be loving, instead of trying to see the soul, the person behind a face, to reduce someone to something so little, just to feel a little bit bigger, a little bit more complete yourself in this story of isolation, the story of self-pity, the story of hatred that you've been telling yourself. Like it's horrifying. It's so horrifying. And Mammy, like we cannot help those people if they do not want to be helped. They're not going to listen. And I think that's the saddest part of all of it. It's not so much that they are experiencing life in this way and that's what they're choosing to put into this world, but that is their world. That is their world, Mammy. That's how they experience the entire world, through this lens of hatred. I cannot imagine that as a good existence to live. So instead of being mean to them, all we can do is love them as well. Try and include them in the story of beauty. Tell me a story, Meld. Do I have a story for you, Toast? Do I have a story for you? Hmm. Let me think a bit. Let me think a bit if I have a good story to tell. Maybe I'll do a decent amount of thinking. Maybe I'll stay quiet. Maybe I'll say things instead of staying quiet for a while. Do I have a good story? Like the Marcus Aurelius quote: "Choose not to be harmed." No, no, no. If you do not feel harmed, then you come on, come on, come on, come on. This quote is like on the tip of my tongue, but I'm missing it. I think it goes something like, if you are harmed, choose not to be. And if you aren't, If you aren't harmed, then you haven't been. Something like that, And again, it's such a clear indication as to this story that we tell ourselves. Choose not to be harmed. And that goes for so much. It goes for so much. I'm just thinking about the times in my life where I was so convinced that I've been harmed, so convinced that I've been wronged by this world, so convinced I've been wronged by the people in my life, so convinced that I've wronged myself to the point where I'm no longer savable. And that feeling, that understanding, that belief, if you will, of myself bled into the other stories I told myself as well, bled into the stories I realized for myself. Thinking back to my teenage years where this sense of superiority when it comes to being intellectually on my feet, if you will, and being able to have a conversation with someone and whatever it means to win the argument, if there's such a thing as winning an argument, and how that gave me some sense of pride, some sense of cognitive bias of the story I tell myself of, yes, I am this separate being, and all of these other beings, will attempt to sway me in my separateness, and I'll be sure to to put them down, if they attempt to. And it was so toxic. It was so toxic to my own soul because the story of separation I was telling myself was making me just that, separate from other beings. I couldn't I couldn't be calm. I couldn't have a sense of self-confidence. I was agitated because I felt under attack. And it was all my perception. I wasn't under attack, at least for the most part. But I was convinced that I was. Before lighting this joint, we did set up proper intention, stories, and I'm still thinking about a story to tell you, Toast. I don't know if counts as a story, but we'll find one. I'm going to page through these. I actually paged through 4 different things we're saying today, and one of them kind of ended up being something that's very relevant to a friend I was talking to, and I actually read him that thing we're saying as well. Stories, stories. So what I'm doing right now, if you're curious, the reason I close my eyes is because I have persistent hallucinations, I guess you can call them as well. I just call it imagination. So depending on what I do, the the mind field, if you will, gets affected as well. And then depending on the stuff I see, I'll take it as an indication to stop paging or not. Like there, I saw this small little diamond in my field of vision. And okay, this one has a BB next to it, which in Afrikaans translates to baie belangrik. Very important. uh, okay. So the first thing, and I want to read this one as well before I read the big one, goes, everything you see is deliberate. And then this is the important one, if you will. And it goes, the way of transformation is the way of assuming responsibility for time. For time is not a prison for you. It is that which flows out of your very consciousness. And there is never a place or a time which is more conductive to the way of transformation than the place in which you are and the time that is now. I don't know if that hits you as hard as it hits me, but again, it's now. You can transform right now. The story you tell yourself can change right now. There's no better time. There's no better time which is going to be more conductive to the way of transformation than the place in which you are and the time that is now. What a beautiful story. Beautiful story. Mammy, Toasty, I love your streams and your wonderful positivity and kindness. I love to the moon and back. Mammy, I love you, my friend. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing this beautiful story with me. You could read the dictionary to me, and I wouldn't miss a word. Hot economics, you flatter me. Thank you so much, my friend. That's very wholesome of you to say. I think I missed some of Candace's comments. You are deserving of all the love you get, and even the love you think you don't deserve. You are a divine being, as you are as well, Candace. We're just being each other's mirrors. Tomorrow will be 16 weeks, and I'm not going to find out until the 22nd week if it's a boy or a girl. 16 weeks. Okay. So, a month and a bit? Month and a half? You must be excited. Are you excited? Do you want to find out? Natalie says, hello, dancing guy. Natalie, thank you for joining us, my friend. Naomi, I'm still so sleepy and I want to chat. I'm just going to close my eyes and listen. Shell, my friend, thank you for joining us. I'm a little bit tired myself, but I'm tired from this perspective of I've been battling with the story I'm telling myself as well. You know? Especially since things have been going really well. The story I tell myself is that maybe things will stop going well. Natalie's face when you said her name. Thank you, Natalie, for your encouragement and for your love, my little friend. What kind of love, though, for endless friends to feel the hurt, want to protect when someone is less than loving towards Mel, who rarely gets upset? Heather, it's all true. All of this love you friends are sharing with me, it's unequivocally true, you know, and in this story that we tell ourselves, there will be characters, entities that won't necessarily be as loving. And instead of telling ourselves, oh, you know, there are entities that are not loving, there are beings that will fight us tooth and nail as we try to bring love into this world. Oh, there are beings that are opposing, you know, positive change. And we can, and yes, we will be right in telling ourselves that story, but is it one that's going to serve us? Instead of telling ourselves that story, we can tell ourselves a story of love, of unity, of respect, of the knowledge that people are in this world that love us, that adore us, that appreciate us just for the way that we are. And that story, in my opinion, is significantly better. Tate, thank you for joining us, my brother. It's so nice to have you here, Tate Taylor. How are you doing, my friend? Do close them and just enjoy the sounds and words. Holy shit, I haven't seen you in so long. Not done. How have you been, my friend? How long has it been for you? What have you been up to since the last time I saw you? I've rolled this joint with the intention of stories. Hopefully it will inspire me to tell one. We'll see. Still at Karas. The stories we tell ourselves. Like all of the stories that are coming up to my mind, you know, especially since we're talking about stories and about the stories we tell ourselves, I feel like most of the stories that are coming to mind are these resolutions of I've been telling myself this story, this opposing story, and then my mind in some sort of contrived or convoluted way brings it around to teach me a lesson about why that story isn't one that's going to serve me. And it's ironic because I feel in this moment telling this story there is a future me that is laughing at me for believing that I know which story I'm telling. And then that future me has a future him, you know, that's also laughing at him, and it's just constant growth. And I feel instead of being too hard on ourselves in this life, because it's already as hard as it can be, just as it is, we should at least, you know, be gentle with ourselves, with the stories we tell. I hope everyone's day is full of magic and wonder. I love you all. I gotta go groom some puppers. Thank you for joining us, Mariah. I'll be in a second. I hope you have a great day. Groom those puppers, go and send some love. I'm excited. Teddy will not go, but my mother will, so we can do a reveal celebration. I've never done one, and I'm so excited. I never had a baby shower either for any of my girls. Don't have any friends to invite. Could be me, the girl, steady my mom and dad, stuck with a bunch of cake. Like, Naomi. Pepe! Naomi, that just sounds to me like more cake for all of you, you know? And I am pretty sure. Pepe, watch it! She's chasing that chicken with the chicks again. Okay, the third one is still there. Little shenanigans machine. Some days I love participating in the chat. Today I may join you in mainly listening. Thank you so much for listening, Naomi. I appreciate you, friends, regardless. Sending restful vibes, Shell. Hey, packing a J and doing the same. Just got a job on a pot farm. I'm so happy to hear that. Pat the Bat 22. What a appropriate username as well. Thank you for joining us, my friend, and congratulations on your new job. What an amazing opportunity. What a awesome time to be alive. To be able to get a job on a pot farm and to get paid a salary that gets taxed. Wow. I don't know why the fact that it gets taxed is something that I had to mention. But it's taxable income. You know, you're getting properly paid. I'm proud of you, Pat the Bat. Thank you, my friend, for sharing the good news with us. What country do you live in? I live in South Africa, my friend. Good morning, Mel, and everybody. Whoa, and everyone. Good day to all. Thank you, Diana. So much love to you. How are you doing? How's your family? How has things been treating you? Morning, Tay. Thank you for the silver. Toast to my lowest. Oh, it's amazing. Finally feeling fulfilled, doing something I truly enjoy. Pat the Bat. You deserve. You deserve that and so much more, my friend. I'm so happy that you get to do what you love. That is truly, what I hope for every single one of us. Mixed to Dev, I think he's telling a story. Says one time I went to an all-you-can-eat Mexican buffet. Goodness, I already, my spidey senses are tingling about this story. Mixed to Dev, and it goes: we got stuck in traffic on the way home, and my buddy had an emergency bubble gun, and had to drop it in the car on our freeway. It caused another passenger to barf. Thank you. Thank you, I guess. Mixed to that. Thank you, right. Hectic. Mel reads all the comments, and you should take a while before he gets to yours. I'll answer South Africa and Papa. Thank you, Mami, for sharing love of our friend. You know that he doesn't have to wait for too long. Lurking while painting. Are you painting on the live stream right now, Gobbledygoo? And how is your painting coming along, my friend? I don't know if you know, but I think you might be making one of those staggered, like line arts. I'm thinking that's what you're doing, at least from what I've seen so far. And I've made one of those before as well. Two pieces, actually. One of them is a little bit bigger. I'll have to send you a photo. Thank you for creating, Gob. Hey, Naomi, thank you for the heartwarming. Homie is definitely a future cult leader. Traditional flow. Like that question, that statement, that energy has been brought to this space so many times, and every single time it's basically diffused in the exact same way, and it's through logic, because a cult and a cult leader and the whole way those things operate kind of expect the members of the cult to believe that the leader that they worship or deify either is God itself, himself, herself, or has direct connection with God and is the only one that has access to that connection. Where in this space, one of the most fundamental things that we believe is that every single one of us has that spark of divinity, has that true essence, has that awareness within us. And that's the thing we celebrate. So it wouldn't be possible for us to be a cult, because every single one of us are worthy of worship, if you will, my friend. No one of us are, above any other of us. We are all equals. No life is more significant than any other. We have, sorry. You haven't lived. Yeah, it's crazy. It has to happen at some point, I guess. That's so true. It's so universally relatable. It happens so often. Everyone must have some kind of interesting story around the subject. Do I? No. No, I don't think I do. This is my first time in here, but the story was enough to get me up and moving. My friend, that's a beautiful thing for you to say. Enjoy the movement. So talking about feeling a little bit today, I've had a hard time moving. I've had a hard time moving today. Like waking up, I felt like I was at, you know, zero point 0.5 speed. And, moving in this space right now, I feel like there's less information to deal with. And especially since I'm such a big believer in these stories that we tell ourselves, I don't believe that I've been telling myself a story of feeling weak or whatever. I don't think I've been telling myself that story. Maybe my body is just tired. I have been exercising and I haven't been eating a lot. See, now I'm reframing the story. I'm like, you're not weak. You're just tired. You've been working hard. You have all of this other information that you have to take into consideration. Update your story. Don't keep telling yourself the same story because things have changed. Since the times that we started telling ourselves these stories. And the thing is as well, on a biological level, you can find this story within the human psyche, the human mind, the human brain structure, and it's called the default mode network. And this default mode network is almost like this highly efficient, myelin seethed out bandwidth, high bandwidth, interconnected little city, if you will, within inside of your mind. And that little world inside of your mind modulates, generates your ego and the story that you tell yourself about it, the linear type of then this happened, then this happened, then this happened, and this is how I felt about it, and this is what I was telling myself. No, 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 no. And what we found is, things like psychedelics or like extreme breathwork exercises or people who have the ability to meditate with extreme efficiency, like people who have 10,000 hours of meditation under their belt, has the ability to downregulate the default mode network and upregulate interconnectivity in the brain. And what's curious to me is how shifting or abolishing or quieting that default mode network temporarily creates this whole new sense of awareness, creates this whole new interpretation of what we are, how we're supposed to be. And it's something that constantly informs us. It's information that is available to us. It's just not something we constantly experience. And I think it's partly done that way, as an evolutionary benefit to us, because I feel if every single one of us were infinitely aware all of the time, I don't think anything would get done or anything would happen, other than maybe conversations or, just us being awe-inspired continually. And a part of this story, there has to be some sort of separation, some sort of diminishing, some sort of making less of that infinity, that infinite story that we tell ourselves. It's curious how it moves us bat to bat. Thank you for joining us, friend. It's nice to have you here for the first time. My next stream title is gonna be Bold Ross ignores your comments while painting 100 obtuse triangles. Bob Ross, Gob Ross, Gob Ross, Bob Ross. Bold Gob Ross. I love it so much, Gob. That's perfect. I think people would resonate. That's like front page material right there. Mel streams regularly, schedule in his Reddit bio, and as you can see from the stream title, he's on day number 387. Yes, we are. Hoorah to us, Mammy, 387 days. Just imagine if I allowed myself to believe negative stories throughout this journey. I would have been decimated. I would have been, a wreck, skin and bones being dragged along by consciousness. But we're getting stronger, friends. We're actually getting stronger. We're getting better and better at doing what it is we're doing. The amount of flow that we're allowed in this space, I feel maybe not be increasing, but the amount of bandwidth that is allowed within that same flow would be increasing. I don't know if that makes sense to you, friends, but I feel it, at least. To the stories, friends. To the stories. I'm still thinking about a story to tell Toasty. And I feel the more I think about it, the more serious or the more important the story I pick is, creating more anxiety of picking a story. Or is that the story I'm telling myself? Maybe I just don't think I have good stories. I'm gonna try, Toast. I'm gonna keep trying, dude. The ocean before, yeah, yeah, me neither. I actually haven't. I've definitely peed in the ocean. Must have Puffin the Chiba. I am friend. Gobtooth triangles. Genius. Gav is on another level. You're gonna be a good dad, Mel. Thank you so much, Toast. Yo, thank you, Toasty, for just opening, unlocking a part of my experience, a part of my story again. There's the story I wanted to tell. Thank you, Toast. This morning, I woke up, feeling a little bit tired. I woke up earlier than I have been waking up the last few days, but I was still feeling a little bit worn out, tired. So I go onto Reddit and I see who's live streaming right now, and I see Paul, kind of close to the top of my homepage. I click on Paul's stream, share some love with him. I scroll down, I think like two feeds, if you will, and I find Darcy, another streamer friend. He only streams like Friday nights, Saturday mornings, and I'm in this space, and we're sharing love with one another, and there's a recognition of both me and him and the other friends in the space as well, and there is a genuine, beautiful exchange of just, this space is made for love, and we love one another here, and that's kind of what like happens. That's the back and forth, and at some point, Darcy's two sons, Cole and Jackson, comes into the room, and they've been drinking a little bit, and they're just loving their dad. Darcy is telling his sons how much he loves them, how much he cares about them. They're saying the same thing back to them. There's hugs, there's kisses, there's just so much love and beauty being poured into that space. And Darcy says something about how it's it's ironic, or it's funny, or it's, can you believe something like that, if you pour so much love into little beings, from the day they're born, by the time they're beings of their own, all they want to do is pour love into you. And upon seeing that, upon hearing him talk about that, I mentioned to him that I really wish my dad was like that as well. My dad has told me that he loves me, but no more than 50 times in my life. And it's not because he doesn't want to. It's not because he doesn't love me. It's just that he's had such a hard experience about expressing love as well. His dad passed away when he was 6 years old, and I shared that, in that stream. And I just think to myself, my dad truly didn't get to hear this story, have this story told to him of what a good dad is supposed to be, what a present dad is supposed to be. And I cannot I cannot hate my dad for not being as loving of an individual as I would have wanted him to be, because it wasn't a part of his story. Like being a 6-year-old boy and losing your dad, growing up without a dad, and then when you're 13 years old, your mom remarries another man as a 13-year-old boy. You're not going to accept any other male figure into your life. I didn't even accept my own dad as a 13-year-old boy. So never mind, as a strange man that is now sleeping with your mom. I cannot imagine the the story my dad must have been telling himself about his place in this world, about fatherly love. And I understand. Understand so thoroughly why my dad is the way that he is as well. His fatherly love came from religion, and unfortunately, it has consumed him almost, where he doesn't have the same capacity to love his family in the way that he has been dedicating himself to that side. And I can fully see how that becomes the story that gets told as well. How can I how can I hate him for that? And I just feel, Toast, in that moment, in that space, seeing fatherly love being shared, just how I'm healing. Just seeing love between a father and a son, healing me, healing the image, the story I was telling myself about having kids of my own one day. How the way that I've been raised, the experiences I've had would unequip me to be genuinely present with my kids and just seeing love to be true, seeing in this world how, without a shadow of a doubt, I could be a good dad. Thank you, Toast. Thank you for reminding me, dude. I feel that moment this morning was so intense that my brain kind of tried to escape it a little bit. You brought it back. Okay. Trivial. Hello from Nova Scotia, Canada. Hello to you, friend. Thank you for joining us. Morning. Do you know Hazy View? I do know Hazy View, my friend. I've been to Hazy View a few times. It's beautiful there. Dark warming. Dark warming. I don't know what that means, Kartha, but thank you for joining us. Glad to see you, Melt. Dark warning, I guess, maybe. Don't know what I walked in on, but I hope you are well. I can relate to what I've heard. My mother and father split after 20 years, and he tried to commit suicide. I've struggled with depression my whole life, and I've tried and considered offering myself one of several occasions, but now I know I can't. He pushed through, and he's still here. I can never go through with it now. Life is really hard sometimes, but we are here for each other, nothing else. Try to live your life as much. I try to, Kartha. I genuinely try to. That is the only thing that I found, you know, eeuwigheidswaarde and forever value in. Something that will transcend not only this fleshy existence, but this entire universe. Love. Just love being shared with one another. Thank you so much for the kind words. It's an amazing time to be alive, and I'm loving every second. Actually, already earned a promotion into our lab working with concentrates. Very fun stuff. I hope life is treating you well too. Pat the bat. I wanted to say something comically, and then I realized that that is a story I tell myself as well. I wanted to say it's going better than it's supposed to, or it's going better than I deserve it, or it's going better than I deserve for it to go, but it's going exactly as well as we can hope for it, my friend. I'm having a hard time wording right now. It's going so well. I'm grateful. I'm present. I'm humbled just by the amount of love, the amount of information, the amount of beautiful stories all around me. I never really need to make time. I really need to make time for meditation. I'd highly encourage it, Mami. Genuinely, it helps so much. You don't even need to do a lot. If you do 10 minutes a day, it will already do wonders. Imagine the loving, open-minded mini melts running around. I'm gonna get completely destroyed. I'm just gonna melt into a puddle myself, Heather. I really appreciate you and what you're trying to do. Thank you. Kartha, you're doing it with me, friend. I'm not doing this alone. You friends quite literally are the ones that are supporting me right now. My parents are also helping, but it is this belief in love. It is this collective belief that love is true that we show up for. And I appreciate you doing the same, Kartha. You're the outlet for a lot of people's expression. Among all else, we can only return the favor. If you need to release, don't ever feel afraid to open to us. If you ever need us to be the shoulder you are, to be, if you ever need us to be that shoulder, you are for so many of us. Thank you, Kartha. I know that, friend. And that's why we do this. That's why we open the space. It's not a, I'm not talking at you. We are having a conversation. That's why I read every message. It's because it's a conversation. This is an exchange between me and you, both sides of the infinity. If it wasn't for you being here, then there wasn't this. Whatever you're experiencing right now, you being here is why it's here. It's because of you. I'm showing up for it as well, because I know it's true. But you being here is the reason you're experiencing it. So thank you, friends. I pictured an avalanche of little ones asking a million and one questions. I look forward to having, 4 month old little melt, mini melt, as you said, just like, oh, okay. Why? 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 Ah, but why this? And my mind just melting as I just pour love into this little vessel. Not an empty vessel, but definitely one that is worthy of pouring love into. Lisa, Management Annie, thank you for joining us, my friend. How are you doing? How's life been treating you? Oh, Darcy and the boys. Oh, Mammy, they turned me to mush this morning. I watched the stream afterwards, and it was just so lovely. Genuinely, Mammy, it was so blessed. I could not have asked for anything better. Happy Saturday, Mammy. Nice to share this space with all of your friends. Oh, Lordy. Paul cried on his stream talking about his mom that passed away last year. Now, Melt, it's okay to cry, Mammy. It's so okay to cry. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing weak in it. There's nothing to be ashamed of, when we cry as well. And it's so odd to me that we live in this world where crying is seen as some sort of weakness, some sort of admittance of defeat. I cry all the time. I'm proud of it. In fact, you know, I've cried at festivals. Like sobbing, like where people come up to me and it's like, "Bro, are you okay? Are you alright?" And I'm just so grateful. Thank you for caring. And then I cry even more because the universe is like even more love. It's like, oh, thank you, universe, for so much love. And then the universe is like, oh goodness, what am I doing? You want more love? You want some more love? And I'm like, all right, please, universe. So thank you, friends. You're that. You're the universe sharing love right now. I hope you know that. I hope you see that from my perspective as well. My father is the same way. As far as verbalizing love, he probably told me 15 times in all my life. And it's difficult, Heather. It's difficult because of the story we tell ourselves. Again, because in this story that we tell ourselves about the way that we love other people and how we tell other people that we love them, and then we put this story in context of the story of our lives, the story of our relationship with our father, and the details of this story is like, yes, father doesn't tell me he loves me regularly, and that's just something he does. While I was in China, he didn't call me once. And that was something I had a big point of contention in myself. That was a big story point that I was like, oh yeah, look at this. Your son is in another country for a year and 5 months, and you don't call him once. You send him voice notes, you send him WhatsApp messages, but you don't call him once. And I was like really butthurt about that. And then I realized I didn't call him either. And what part of the story do I want to tell myself? Do I want to be the victim who didn't get called? Or was I the one who also chose to be proud and not call him? Which story do you want to follow? Which story? Look who it is! Freaking Adam Gee! Such a hug. Look who I'm wearing. Look who I'm wearing, homie. You're here with me, brother Bear. I love you so much, man. Thank you for joining us. Kartha says, my mother doesn't talk to me much either, so I feel it. I'm 50 states away from her, so to be fair, I could make more of an effort. as well. That's the story, Kartha. That's the side of the story we need to be telling, my friend. Thank you so much for being aware of that as well. Brother Bay, Adam, I love you so much, man. Whew, I love you so, so much. I'm just gonna continue telling you I love you if I don't continue. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing, brother? I was thinking about you just before stream today. I was thinking about the conversation I had with Marlies, Adam's significant other, about what I want for you, and this outreach, this love that we've been sharing. I don't stand I don't stand to benefit or to gain or to experience potentially anything from it, but just imagining, just in my mind's eye, picturing you thriving, picturing you abundant, picturing you enjoying what you're doing. That is more than enough. I want that for you, brother Bear. That's the story I'm telling myself about you actively. I hope you're telling yourself that story as well. Thank you for the story, brother. I love you. I have the urge to go hug your dad. He's not here right now, Toast. He's not here right now, but me and him exchanged pleasantries. We told each other we love each other. And it's so much easier in text. So much easier in text than it is to actually do it in person. To do it sincerely. And this is something I've been practicing in my life as well, with the way I tell people I love them in my personal existence. Like, so to give you an example, to tell you a story, I was thinking about my brother Vessel, and I went to his room, or wanted to get something from him in his room, and I asked him, can I borrow this thing? And he's like, yeah, sure. And I get it on his table, and I walk outside. And before I walk outside, I I like ask him, can I turn your light off and close your door? And he's like, yeah, please. And as I'm doing that, I'm like, love you, brother. And he's like, oh, love you too. And I close the door, and I kind of go about my own business. And I think about that for a little bit. I tell myself a story about that, and I eventually take the thing up. This time, I made the conscious effort to think about how I want to tell him I love him. And I go and sit next to him on his bed, and I place my hand on his arm, and I like, you know, kind of give him like a firm grasp slash holding on to. And I look him in the eyes, and I tell him, Vessel, ek is lief vir jou, my boetie. Like, Vessel, his name, brother, I love you. And the amount of energy experience, the significance of that story, the exact same words being said, I love you, was so different, was so like vastly different. And again, in another story that I'm telling myself, I don't feel like my dad has ever made an intention like that, to tell me he loves me like that. But does he need to? In the story that I tell myself, should I expect that of him? Am I going to be better off for it if he is like that? Would it be genuine if I had to tell him and force him to do that? So many freaking questions. Same mode, same story, same sitch. Gobbledygoo. I'm here with you, my friend. We love you so much, dude. It's okay to cry about these things. It's okay to feel into them. But I think it's so important to ask ourselves, what story are we telling ourselves about it? Is it a story of I'm a victim in this situation? My dad should have done this, should have been this, should have treated me like this. I think it's also so difficult for us to say that in the context of different love languages. Every single one of us as a being perceives, experiences love in different ways as well. And it's so difficult generationally to resonate with your children, because they're living in a different world than the one you're living in right now. It's one of responsibility, it's one of things needing to be get done, and a child's existence is play. And when a child has a love language of play, of time being spent in play, and you have this mindset of things need to get done, play is for children, then it disconnects you from your kids. And it was something that I had a very hard time consolidating, understanding, feeling into as a kid, because I was like, why does my dad not want to spend time with me? Am I not worthy of his time? Is making money more important to my dad than spending time with me? And that's what I was telling myself. That is the conclusion I came to. Like, yeah, my dad values, financial gain more than he values, time spent, relationship gained, if you will. And it was devastating to me. But now, being a little bit more mature, being a little bit more realistic, I should say, as well, with how I perceive events in my life, my dad didn't have the capacity, the insight, the ability to be completely in the same frequency as I was, because the things I wanted to do with my dad was to play games together, to sit and watch a show together. And the shows I was watching, the games I was playing, weren't things that he were interested in. Him being extremely conservative Christian as well, it created even more of a separation between the stuff that I enjoyed in my youth and the stuff that he, kind of disdained as an adult. So not only was I, as a teenager, interested in things that he was disapproving of, but I wanted him to be not maybe approving of it, just I wanted him to spend time in that space with me, when fundamentally it was something that he didn't believe in, wasn't something that was in his frame of reference of stuff that he does. It wasn't a part of his identity. And to expect someone to change their identity for you is so difficult. It's difficult for us to change our identities for ourselves. Never mind, for your son. I'm happy to be gaining insight actively as I talk about these things, as we feel into these things, as we explore these stories of our lives. We can unpack them slowly but surely as we gain more insight. I don't believe our dads wanted to be distant, wanted to be disconnected, separate from us. I just feel that they were, and that they are, on a generational level. The stuff that we get into, the stuff that we like spending time on, they don't understand necessarily, and that's okay as well. What a lovely perspective. I love that you understand your dad's fear and how he loves in another way. But Estian, that's why you're so beautiful. Your soul sees so many perspectives, and your self-awareness is so refreshing. You're gonna make me cry, Lisa. I'm just out of the cries. Suck the tears back up. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much, my friend. My dad was away for most of my early life, and even my mother during most of my time in middle school. I kind of thought the same way as you, but I realize now that he loves me more than he can express. They do, Kartha. They're literally working their lives away to try and take care of us, and in their mindsets, that's the way that they can love us. That's the way they can take care of us. It's not because they hate us, not because they don't want to spend time with us. They just understand family and love in a different context. They want us to be safe. But if you attach safeties to a certain finite number or infinite number, it's impossible to reach. Stories. Exactly, beautifully put. You said your father's way of being will only work in your favor. You're right, Mammy. I wish I would remember actively, because we get so caught up in the story again of the freaking story relation. We get so caught up in the story that we defend, that we believe, that we are resonating with, that we forget the person. We defend the story, at the detriment of the person. Sometimes we'll break a person down for the story. I feel he possibly thinks I know it, so he doesn't have to say it. My mom lost her dad at 6 years old. She chooses the opposite, smother you with love every day she is breathing. Heather, that makes me so happy. And it shows me again that both of those sides are possible. It gives me a hope. All of infinity is possible. Your compassion and empathy for your dad is beautiful. Thank you for inspiring me to be the best father I can be. Going to give my kids extra love today. Yes, yes. And that's the thing as well, Ryan. Like this exchange, you giving your kids more love, is an infinite universal win. I I personally do not need to see the repercussions of that because on an individual level, on the level of your children's story of the world, a part of that story is going to be my dad loves me. My dad actively tells me how much he loves me. That my dad, shows me that he loves me. My dad has conversations with me and cares about me. And being able to be the co-creator, the co-author, the co-storyteller in your child's story like that, thank you. Thank you so much, Brother Ryan. I'm 65-year old. What? Eight, wait. I legit this whole time I thought you were like in your early 20s for what it's worth. I'm 65 years old and my father never cared. I thought when he died it would be over, but I still think about why he chose to ignore me every goddamn day of my life. He lived until 93 years old. My mom, who I loved with all my heart, died at 59. Eight, wait. You know what I have concluded why they don't care, if you will, is because they're so involved in their own story. They're so involved in their own understanding of what they like to do, what experience they enjoy, spending time by themselves or doing their own thing. I think is also a good one to say. They're just so into doing their own thing that they don't care about other people as much. And I'm not saying it's right. Maybe we can just have some insight. I'm so sorry to hear that, my friend. Thank you for being a loving individual regardless. Chris P is joining us saying, just passing by. Good evening from here, Melt. Good evening to you, my friend. Thank you for joining us. You could have a patty melt. Have a patty melt. Oh, a patty melt is some sort of burger, right? I think so. Like a cheeseburger or like a slab of beef with cheese on top of it, and then it gets covered and the cheese melts onto it. Is that a patty melt? I'm so sorry, dude. I think someone told me once, but it's been a long time. It's really hard currently dealing with a situation like this. So much love to all of your friends. That's high quality Ryan love, right? I'm just holding on to that stuff, my dude. The human heart and soul will never stop asking and wondering why. It's tough. I hope you feel at peace with not knowing. Someday, maybe. I hope that I could at least share a little bit of insight into what I've concluded for myself. Of course, I pick the one spot I'm gonna get blasted by rays at some point. Do I want to move? Do I want to get myself a chair? You think? You think? Yeah, I think so. I think so. Yeah, definitely. I think it's a little bit bright. The clouds have moved along. It seems like there will be no rain just yet. Let's see if I can do this effectively. Uh, some men don't want to affectionately show love because of the stigma of masculinity in society. Hopefully, this will not be the case in the future. We're breaking that stereotype, gender norms. Be damned, if you will. Yes, family. And the return of why from the little children normally lasts for about a year, but I just might last forever. Man, Heather, if I'm any indication, as to what my genetics is capable of, and I'm gonna have little mini melts of myself, I don't think they're ever gonna stop asking why, because I haven't figured out how to just yet. So I think as soon as they come into this world, we're gonna have to be strapped in for some good questions. I just I imagine my kids interviewing me, during stream, having them co-create with me as well. I'm sure future Dad Moore will encourage the hows and the why story time with the question. Oh, of course, especially the hows. Goodness, teaching little beings how to do things, teaching them how to be themselves, how to do things for themselves, how to feel powerful. Not in order to break others down, but to have the strength to lift others up. Goodness, being a dad. That story is a little bit intimidating. I was like, yes, being a dad. And my brain was like, okay. Years, kids growing up, my potential future wife, me and her. Oh goodness, stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! I cannot. No. Technically, I have a little spot that is still hidden, but the wind is moving things, if you will. I don't hate my father. I just felt nothing. And I felt that way when he died. I wanted to be able to mourn a man who I loved, but I couldn't even do that. Anyway, that's infinitely heavy, you know, if you were to turn your username on the side. I'm sorry you have to carry that, my friend. Has sharing it, and I'm genuinely curious, has sharing it lifted that weight a little bit? Do you feel like you're a little bit lighter having talked about this, having shared these feelings about it? I feel a little bit more, expansive just hearing about it. It's hard for some families where the work must be chosen daily because children don't understand nor care about the mortgage, etc. They don't understand and they shouldn't care. That sounds a little bit hectic, but I feel they shouldn't even know about stuff like that. And maybe that is coddling your kids or letting them live in a world that doesn't exist. But I feel that world shouldn't exist. So for as long as they are allowed to, they shouldn't live in that world, if you will. But I'm, of course, completely oblivious. Maybe I'll be completely open with my kids about how finances work. That will probably be the way that I do it. Just complete honesty. I'm going to treat my kids like equals, from the day that they're in my life. Equals, but I'm not going to give them complete sovereignty. Sovereignty. They're not going to be sovereign. Because they have to have at least, a little bit of dad's guidance in their lives. If what they want to do might fail and it would be a learning experience to do so, then I will obviously allow it. I will allow them to fail as much as they want to. But I don't think I would like to allow them to make blatantly bad decisions. This story has too many layers to it. I cannot start telling it. But it's tripping me out just thinking about it. Dear lad, I hope you can resolve things for you. I'm so sorry to hear that. Mammy, thank you for sharing the love, my friend, for participating in the story of changing that narrative. I will say though, I'm sure your mom felt the love and appreciated until the day she passed. Absolutely. I wonder if mommy issues are less common in society. So, Toast, the reason I believe daddy issues, if you will, are more common in our society than mommy issues are is because we live as a part of a patriarchal society right now. And our current mindset is very much masculine dominant. So if it's masculine dominant and the masculine dominant person in your life doesn't love you, then that could result in daddy issues. I believe if we were living in a matriarchal society, which we were at one point living in, and I believe we're now actively returning to that, I believe mommy issues are going to become more of a problem again because in this matriarchal understanding of compassion and warm love for all beings, having a mom that isn't necessarily capable of that and might be a little bit in her own world will result in more mommy issues again. But that's just a very small conceptualization of a story that might be told at some point. I want to catch the stream that melts soul of the dad and the boy sharing love. Anyone have the Reddit username? It is u slash one day 1234, I believe. Brian, I might be wrong, but I think that's the username. Like usually Darcy deletes his live streams afterwards, which is an absolute shame, but it genuinely is worth the watch if you can find it. Difference between Patty Melt. I almost had a kid once. I was so relieved when I found out my child. My dad was almost express. I think I've missed some of your messages, Cartha. I was so relieved when I found out the child was mine. Not because I wouldn't take care of it, but because I knew it was not a position to take care of the child. I almost had a kid once with my best friend's girlfriend. He was okay with it. At least he told me it was. Hell, he asked me with her when we fooled around. He asked me he asked me with her difference between patty melt and burgers. Burgers usually have soft buns, while patty melts are often with toasted bread. Often. Thank you, Kartha. Do you ever feel like you aren't in control of your thoughts or actions? Never. Gartha. Fortunately, I never feel like that, my friend, because those are. We're not so much in control of our thoughts, but we are always in control of our actions. And learning how to do that, I feel, is one of the most important practices of life. Like, you're not so much responsible for the things that happen outside of you, but you are very responsible for the way that you handle them inside of you. The way you internalize, process, and tell yourself a story about that situation. That's all you. I know I have chemical imbalances in my brain, and I often act out in aggression when upset, and I never necessarily intend to do it. It just happens. I have a lot to say about this topic, but I don't want to take over chat. Kartha, it's completely okay, my friend. You can share, nonetheless, you won't be taking over chat. I see this with a friend a lot, and working moms. I'm blessed. I'm working from home, and I have the luxury of being there for my kids every day. I just wish that they knew how lucky they were as well, Mammy. I want to share something. Please don't judge me. I have two grown sons. I have an easier time saying I love you or physically hugging one of them than the other. It has always been that way, except when they were small, because all kids are easy to love then. Is it because he doesn't accept the love, Heather? Does he tell himself a story of not being worthy of that love? And is it difficult to say, I love you because of that? Or is it because of stuff that he's done before? I'm genuinely curious about that, Heather. If you're willing to share, my friend, and there's no judgment whatsoever, of course. We're sharing in an open space. We're all safe. Okay, Kartha says, my reactions are generally so instantaneous. It never feels like there was time for me to actually process my thoughts into my actions. Kartha, on that note, before you do anything, and like I'm being serious now, before you take a shit, dude, before you make yourself coffee, before you do anything, Kartha, take a breath. Be like, okay, I want to do this thing. Before I do thing, if you do that and you're still making stupid decisions, then I don't know what to tell you. Because the initial reaction, the wisest person, the most, galaxy brain, super zen, ultimate, like Christ-like character, if you will, if there's a loud bang right next to him or somewhere in the distance, he's also gonna be like, and then like, what the fuck is that? Because that's the initial reaction. But the difference is that after having the initial reaction, if that being stands up, it starts to investigate where the danger is, versus, oh, there was a loud noise, it was not planned for, I wasn't expecting it, it happened, there's no danger in it, it's done. Back into the moment. That's the active training we're doing right now, friend, is in learning how to process these things. because all reaction is instantaneous, but the instantaneous reaction is bodily, it's physical, it's animal like, if you will. The part of you that thinks about things, that takes breaths and is aware of breath, is divine. You are divine, Kartha. How can I realize all of my anger and let go of my negative emotions without reacting to them? Friend, reacting to negative emotions only breeds more negative emotions. You know, there's no winning in being like, oh, I'm so angry, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you to show you how angry I am. Because now that person is angry and hurt, and both of you have now lost more than you've gained. I tend to lash out over non-issues, and especially to those close to me. I was diagnosed with bipolar and an undiagnosed mood disorder as a child at a young age. I used to be on medication, but I noticed no difference really. All I knew was I wanted to quit, and I was soon to quit. It just gradually got worse. I'm not sure if it was the medication or not, but I feel like my brain is so chemically imbalanced that I have no choice but to react. Just the morning I smashed a chair over something falling off the wall. Yeah, Kartha, just take a breath. Before you do anything, just take one breath. And in that breath, you will see what this thing it is you want to do, and you will kind of start rationalizing whether or not that's a good idea. It hurts my relationship, friendships, and my well being, as well as my mental health, furthering the issue every time. Most of my problems I have with myself stem from this aggression. I hate myself for all of the people I've hurt physically or with words. I genuinely feel out of control of it, and I hate it. I never asked to be this way, and I don't want to be it anymore. It feels like the anger takes me over, and I don't like that. I feel like half the time I'm on autopilot with no way to intervene, even when I'm screaming in my mind to not do what is being done. I apologize if it seems like I'm making you stream about myself. No, my friend. Like what I'm thinking right now, let me finish your message. If this is too much of a memory dump for you, nope, I just feel like I can't even talk to those close to me. Kartha, this is exactly the space to share these sort of things. And again, the thing I'm noticing, what is today's stream about again? We were gonna talk about stories. And you're telling me your story, friend, and listening to this story, like listening to the way you're telling it about how you are not in control, you are subject to this aggression. This aggression is ruining your life. Are you hearing what I'm hearing, Kartha? I feel you are, friend. You're so aware. You're already aware of the story you're telling yourself. Stop. Stop telling that story. So I was telling the story of I am a compassionate being. I am a being that keeps my cool. I am a being that doesn't get outraged about small things because I am above them. I am a being that breathes first and foremost. I am a being that wants to open a space in which we can both be comfortable, that we can both be loving, and we can both be aware of both sides of infinity. Tell yourself that story, Kartha. You're worthy of a better story, my friend. I want you to live a better story. Like, thank you for sharing your story as well. This is what it's about. That story, my friend. It's crazy. There we go. One day. Thank you so much, Mammy. Just looking for one. Human relationships are complicated. No judgment at all, Heather. Absolutely not. Beve. Sorry for missing your message for a while, my friend. Thank you for the Ally Award, and thank you for sharing love of us. I guess all that's left for me is to find peace, is to write that different narrative. You're writing it right now, Kartha. You don't have to do it. You are doing it. Today's thing worth saying is about transformation. There is no time that is going to be as conductive as, you know what? I'm going to find it because I'm butchering it trying to remember it right now. And I want to read it exactly as it was written down because it's beautiful. Transformation, here it is. The way of transformation, changing the story about yourself, is the way of assuming responsibility for time. Time passes. For time is not a prison for you, it is that which flows out of your very consciousness. And there is never a place or a time which is more conductive to the way of transformation than the place in which you are and the time that is now. Here we are, dude, changing this story. You're doing it, Kartha. You being like willing to talk about these things, you're changing that story. I will try to breathe and assess things before reacting in the future. Just one breath, friend. Like, just remind yourself of that. Oh, wait. I need to breathe first, right? And then you're like, huh. Okay, I was outraged, but now that I've taken that breath, I feel a little bit more aware of the outrage, of why I'm outraged, and of how the potential acting out of that outrage will only hurt me and the people around me as well. No judgment at all, only understanding and love. Thank you. Genuinely, friends, thank you for telling the same, to Heather. I feel like mommy issues may be more common on the other end of the spectrum. Perhaps showing too much love or misplacing that love, smothering, controlling, or constant surveillance might be a more common issue. So, like, it's trippy to me that you say that as well, Toast, because what Toast is now mentioning is the other side of the infinity of this negative story we can be telling ourselves about our relationship with our parents, where daddy issues can stem from the lack of having a dad, a loving dad in your life. And in Toasty's, like contribution, he mentions that there might be mommy issues because there's an excess of love coming from her, and with that excess of love she's over involved, like in his words, controlling, surveilling, smothering, trying to, yeah, just do too much. And as a result of that, the person grows up being almost disabled, if you will. It might be a little bit hectic of a word, but to deal with the real world in a realistic way, developing issues, if you will, mommy related issues because of that. I'm truly grateful for being able to speak with you on such things. Like I said, it's hard for me to even talk to these things to those close to me. And without you, I may never have seen things from a different perspective. Kartha, like, this exchange is so significant to me that I would go as far as to say that this entire stream was for you, my friend. For you to have this moment of growth, of perspective, of shifting of story. This stream is for you, my friend. I'm so happy to have showed up today. Like, genuinely, thank you. Whether or not I improve myself for it remains a mystery. Only time will tell. But in this moment, it really helps me a lot. Remember this moment. Remember that this moment is now everlasting, Kartha. This exchange is everlasting. And I'm going to continue showing up in this space for us to have these exchanges again. So, even though we might not have to share this big shift of a perspective, we know that in this space, perspective shifting can happen. So, as long as we continue showing up, as long as we have the intention to continue growing, continue changing this story we're telling ourselves about ourselves, we will. You will continue showing up, dude. Well, we're gonna get better. We are quite literally getting better right now as we're having this conversation. Don't give up. Don't give up, friends. I think so, Toasty. My relationship with my mother is broken. I kept the line of communication open, but I can't let her in. It's very sad, but I have accepted that this is how things have to be. Mammy, I would love to know more about that. And she says, here is my story. I have to start prepping dinner. I'm here listening, but I will be silent in chat while I use my hands to cook food, sending good vibes, good vibrations, waves of frequency over your food, empowering them with the ability to regenerate, revitalize, and energize every single cell of your and your family's being. So much love coming your way, Mammy. Thank you for joining us, my friend. That's exactly why I tune in. At first, I was like, oh, some guy on the internet. But then I actually listened and realized you are much more knowledgeable than that. You have the power to change the entire world, even if you only change it within the individual. You really do help me immensely. Kartha, you, my friend, are the conceptualized entire world. You know, if you want to think of the infinity symbol, right? Let's see if I can do it like this. The infinity symbol. You can kind of be a bigger part of that infinity, you know, like you can be like this small little part of it, or you can shift that balance and make yourself more a part of it. And that infinity starts right here at the back of your being, projecting outwards into the rest of infinity. So, Kartha, by you changing, by me changing, we are changing the entire world. We have to keep showing up for that, friend. Keep changing the story, or at least updating the story. Hey, 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 cut! Okay. Cat's on the barbecue. And I'm like screaming at him, and he pretends like I don't exist. He's like, oh, you gonna stop me? Probably not. But you can get away with it for now. I think so often. My relationship. Oh, and I mean, I'm sorry to hear that as well, my friend. If you're willing to share what happened there, you know, why it is you feel, you know, like you cannot let your mom in. I would love to know more about that. Thank you for sharing, Kartha. This is a safe place. We love you. We love you, Kartha. You have more friends from Reddit sending love as well. One of my lasting dreams has been to travel the world. If you'd allow it, one day I shall make my way to Africa and we shall share a smoke when I'm at the place in my life. I look forward to it. Kartha, you're so welcome, my friend. I look forward to it as well. We're manifesting it. We're talking about these things. We're imagining it. We're putting the energy forward to realize these things in our lives. I've had some Yesuses in the background this whole time. Same, this friend. Cool story, bro. Thank you, God. Thank you, friend. Man, the stories. Toasty has been a massive inspiration as of late. He has inspired me to start creating shorts, you know, on YouTube. And this morning, Toast, well, last night, I would say rather, after the conversation me and you had, I started imagining how to realize these ideas, and I'm just going to shoot shorts. You know, instead of taking them from these streams, I'm just going to make them as individuals. Like I'm just going to put the energy forward and make them. And I asked my brother to start thinking about a 3D printed mount and then like a little bit of an extension, selfie stick ish esque thing, so I can use my main lenses to shoot the shorts. Toast, you are an inspiration, brother bear. We're gonna do it. We're gonna freaking do it even more, more and more, and more and more and more, and then eventually I'm just going to, melt into it. I'm sure. Just gonna bloop, disappear. Thank you, Redditors, as well. Melt makes this for all of us and with all of us. For without us, there is no Melt. This is a big family, and I'm glad to be a part of it. I'm Melt, friend. You're more. And this space becomes Melt more, and we literally melt into this space. Bro, I can't wait to see what creative things you come up with. Toast, I feel a lot of them are going to be these things we're saying. Things we're saying. I want to do Stoic philosophy as well, like sharing a Stoic quote, and then maybe like sharing the modern perspective or my perspective. And I want to do the same with the things we're saying, because that way they can be like a minute to 3 minutes long, and I can I can shoot it with a proper lens slash proper camera, maybe get like some blur if you will. Yeah, yeah, Toast, you're inspiring me, dude. And like Toast is like, dude, shorts, people's attention span. People's attention span melt. I know you want to stream for 2 hours at a time, but not everybody can pay attention for 2 hours at a time. But you're right, Toast. So if we can, create a resonance, a feeling, a message that we can share in a short format for someone to tune in for a moment, that would be just as beautiful. And I thank you for encouraging me to do that. The older son of mine is the one that we don't have a physical relationship or say I love you. We are close in age. We are close in age. I was young when I had him. People think I'm his wife, when they see us together. I think the age thing was something to do with it. Okay, really interesting, Heather. Thank you so much for being willing to share with us, my friend. Maybe you could share people's interactions anonymously as shorts so people can glimpse into the real world without putting anyone on a spotlight. I could do that as well, my friend. I would like the last thing that I'd ever want to do is try and monetize you friends, because you friends are worth infinity. So I would have a hard time trying to do that because it would feel like I was stealing something, if you will. The stories that touch you the most and make you think. Like I have shared, in this space, especially like stories like that. Like I'm thinking very specifically now about paying and pain. That's one of the biggest, most significant stories, for me, I want to say thus far. Like every single one of you friends growing and seeing how your stories are shifting, the stories you're telling yourselves about what is possible, about what you want to do, about what you think you're capable of. Like I've seen you friends grow, and it's mind blowing. And then there's this friend called Paying and Pain that was at the brink of leaving this world, if you will. Has a neurodegenerative disease that puts him in an extreme amount of pain, and he's sticking around. He's still showing up for this space, and it makes me so happy. Like it's a genuine inspiration. I'll save the story of my mother for another time, Mammy. Maybe when we talk about moms, we'd be patiently waiting for that. Thank you for being willing to even include us into a glimpse of what goes on in your life. You don't have any pressure to share. Fist bumps. IRL. Or be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's the fist bumps. You made me sound so aggressive. No toast. I mean, if anything, someone that is passionate, passionate and genuinely wants to share something from this perspective of, I want to see even more growth. I want to see even more beauty come out of this space. Like aggression sometimes works, especially with my masculine nature. It works very well, Toast. So there's nothing that needs to be apologized for. I appreciate you so much. Cut! It's like, cut. This is actually bezig om 'n stuk wors te eet. Hey! 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 Hey, cut. Did you hear that? Yes, see? And he doesn't care. If that was a dog, like a dog would never steal food and, like be nonchalant about it, if you will. Like if a dog steals food, like it's like, I'm not doing anything wrong. And this cat, like I'm screaming, like, hey, doesn't bat an eye, doesn't even flinch, doesn't even look over at me, just continues eating sausage. Like my brother had a friend over, and they had a little bit of a barbecue. Apparently, they didn't close the the meat container. Stories and the most. Cats have no shame. That dude, like, not even a second, Toast. Like in his mind, I'm pretty sure he doesn't even think. I guess in my mind as well. I wanted to say, in his mind, Rudo, die kat spring net op die braaier en hierdie wors so. Hey. En ek sê net vir hulle, soos as 'n hond dit doen. En hy skree vir hom, "Hey." Dan sal hy nou maak asof hy ja, hy sal sy ore terugtrek, weghardloop. Hy flinch nie eers. Hy kyk nie eers vir my nie. Ou. Hy kyk nie eers vir my soos ek vir hom sê hy nie. Ek het die wors nou teruggesit daar in die bak. Doesn't care. Has no shame whatsoever, Toast. Very understandable that you feel a lesser bond. Childbirth can be so traumatic, and forming bonds is not something that comes natural. One day we are our own person, and in the next breath we are mothers. It is a massive shift in the universe. Goodness, like that's why I'm so intimidated by being a dad as well, Mammy, because it quite literally is a whole other infinity that opens up right in front of you. And then the more kids you have, the more infinities you have running around. More fractals. Whoa, whoa. He's close to my mom, his nana. They hug and say, I love you. But his fear, anxiety, etc., he only can be comforted by me. That's so weird, Heather. Not weird as in you're weird and that exchange is weird. Just, I've never heard about it being like that. It makes sense. This cat Yossi, the look he just gave me. The look. Don't you look at me like that? Don't you pull your ears back like that? Don't you lick your lips like that? Don't you lick your foot like that? I'm giving such a pushover dad toast. Oh goodness. I'm glad the bond was with your mom. It's another avenue of kindness together with your comforting power. Absolutely. Melt, hey bro, the cat's eating your sausage, bro. Looks over at cat. Lol. Did I get it? So I actually wanted to share a bit, about the story that he tells himself, and then my brother walked in. In his world, he didn't do anything wrong. There was food on the barbecue, and he went and he helped himself to some food. And then when I thought about saying that and saying it in the context of how dare he believe this, and I was like, but actually, he should believe that because, yes, there's food and he's a cat. And if he can eat the food, then he's probably going to eat it. Yes, the looks he's giving me, he's so upset with me right now. Look at me. Look at me, cat. Yeah, that's what I thought. Freaking asshole. Always been the shoulder. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I want to be an artist, a musician, a traveler, an inspirer. Those first three things have stuck with my desires longer than anything else I've ever wanted to do as a child. And after growing just a bit here with you, it actually feels like it's a possibility. But the last is the most important. I've always been the shoulder for my friends to cry on, and it's the best feeling to be able to help someone else. But thank you again for what you control, for what you do. I actually feel like I can be in control of my life, my actions, and my future, and that I can be successful in whatever I try to put my mind to for the first time in a long time. Kartha, yes. That's all I can say to that. Yes. You deserve that, my friend. You deserve to believe that. You deserve to have that agency over your own life. Cat's on the barbecue again, but now it's covered. Yeah, what's up, dude? Technology. Where's your opposable thumbs, bitch? Sorry. I'm being a little bit mean. Diamond Fingers! I just wanted to pop in and say I love you, everyone. Have a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. Keep on smiling. Keep on smiling, friends. Keep on smiling. Keep on sharing smiles of other beings. I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing the space with me today, friends. Thank you for sharing stories. I love you so much. I'll see you again tomorrow. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye, my friend. I appreciate you, Kartha.